Moje ime je Ivan Grbesa.
Grbesa.
Dobar vam dan. VEZA Dom je podcast za iseljenu Hrvatsku i domovinu. Koristeći novu tehnologiju Zoom za daljinsko snimanje, Sling Studio za snimanje u studiju, YouTube za difuziju signala i Roku IPTV omogućavam podcast programe za iseljenu Hrvatsku. Svi vi koji imate interesantnu temu ili priču, a želite stvarati vezu iseljena Hrvatska i domovina, znači VEZA Dom, dobro ste došli. Specijalno svi vi koji ste pretplatnici na veliki broj programa iz domovine, na Roku IPTV naša aplikacija je IAN aplikacija. U ovoj produkciji imamo gosta. S nama je danas Eva Zlatec. Dobar dan, Eva, kako ste?
Dobro, a vi?
Pa evo, uvijek malo nervozan kada krećem sa ovim poslom. Možda sam negdje sebi stavio u glavu da ja nisam baš rođen za ovo, ali bilo bi lijepo kad bi imali osobu, novinara koja bi vodila ove programe, a ja da snimam i tako. Ali to do sada nisam uspio učiniti, pa evo to radim sam, onda prolazim kroz te nervoze i tako, jeli? Recite mi, znači, vi ste malo o sebi, dakle ste, gdje sad živite, i malo mi ćemo jednostavno ovo imati kao jedan razgovor ugodni i da se upoznamo i da upoznamo naše gledateljstvo i da vidimo što su naši zajednički interesi, tako. Onda, evo, recite mi.
Prvo želim reći, moj hrvatski nije baš tako dobro. Rođen sam u Charlotte, North Carolina, ali moja mama je Hrvatica i kad je imala, prosti, 18.
Pa, možemo mi i engleski ako će vama biti lakše, jer većinom i u domovini i u iseljeništvu Hrvati govore engleski, tako da i to će biti u redu.
Dobro, okay. So I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, but when I was 18, I moved to Croatia, and I thought it would be forever. But now, about 1 month ago, actually, I moved to Canada, to Toronto. So now I'm residing in Canada for the next year.
Well, that's interesting. Interesting. So you are here as a student, or did you then, or your parents are still in Croatia?
My mom lives currently in England. She has a new husband. He's from England with my little brother. I moved to Canada unfortunately, because of the coronavirus, I ended up losing all my savings, and I'm currently enrolled in university in Zagreb at the American University, and now I'm in Canada because my aunt lives in Canada, and she was so generous enough to tell me that I could come here and work for a year so I can save up to pay for the rest of my faculta in Zagreb. So I'm only here for a year, I hope, but yeah.
Okay, so how long were you in US?
So I was born there, but I really spent majority of my life until I was 5 years old in Bjelovar, where my mom's from. And then when I started school, which is 5 years old in the US, we went back to America, and I spent 13 years there. But every summer I would go back to Croatia. So I got the privilege of like half in the US.
Maybe we can compare this like two generations comparing I came to Canada when I was 13, 14. Finished my education here and lived here for years. So I guess that was for me a long time ago. So let's see how was your life United States as far as Croatian community is concerned there.
You know what? It's like I feel really unfortunate in a way because I grew up in Charlotte, so we had no Balkan people. There's not a population of us in Charlotte. I only knew like one Bosnian family growing up, so we would always go there, and it was like we could speak Croatian there with them, but we didn't have a community. But I was in New York when I turned 18, and I noticed that there they do have a large Croatian population. So I think that for those Croatian diaspora people that grow up in Pennsylvania or New York, and even in California where there's a big Croatian population, that it's a lot easier to stay in touch with your culture and keep speaking the language than it was for like me and my little brother, for example, because we don't have that community in Charlotte, unfortunately.
I see. So there was no contact with Croatian community as you were growing up.
Yeah, there wasn't, which is really unfortunate. But we did go back every like couple of winters and summers, so I didn't really have a big contact with the Christian community in the U.S.
My situation was much different. You see, when I moved here, there was a huge Croatian community in the city of Hamilton. That's where I went to Mohawk College, went to university, McMaster University, but at that time I felt that I was also a bit not in touch with the Croatian community, because what was happening is that there were not many people going to school, to university here or more college. There were some, but not many. But most of the younger people that came, they went to work, they went, made their living, bought their cars, and so on and so forth. So there was that difference there. But I remember we having many Sunday dances. People were active in church, active in sports, and the community was alive. Everybody was supporting everybody else. There was so many picnics, so many organizations, and when I look at a community today, and I remember these days, there's a definite change, and I cannot answer myself, and I don't understand why did that happen. How come that after the Croatia became independent and free, and so many more people are coming out abroad right now, and they're not able to organize themselves. So what do you think about that? Should Croatian community be organized even now? Would you like to see something like that?
I really would, because my cousins grew up here, and they also don't have very much contact with the Croatian community. We're in Aurora, and I understand that a lot of Croatian people are in Mississauga and Hamilton area. And even I like posted on some Facebook groups trying to see, where do I meet Croatian people? Are there any I don't know, festivals or something where I can meet people? And a lot of people were just like, go to Croatian church. And, I would love to do that, but
we are very, very much disadvantaged now, and you are in disadvantage because of Corona, and because all these limitations that have been imposed on a community. So what I understand right now, this is the best through social media to try to meet some people, but I'm not even aware of myself that except church. I think it's opened up right now, but for months we even didn't have a mass. You know, so we live in very troublesome times.
Yeah, I think it's definitely put a lot of limitations on meeting people. The COVID situation, um, even, but I think maybe the reason why the community, like the Croatian community, is maybe a little bit different now versus when you were younger. Even my dad, who lives in Canada now, when he first moved to Canada, I think, and my mom also, they're all immigrants, but I think another big part of that is people just don't have the free time anymore, right? And I think that Croatian people in general, what I've noticed, both in Germany, because my dad's from Germany, so I do have like a little bit of connection with Germany, but I think that Croatians really assimilate when they go abroad in such a way that I think maybe now our culture has not been, or our heritage has not been put at the forefront for a lot of families that have moved abroad. Like, for example, like my mom, when I was younger, was, you know, we only ate sarma and fileni paprika, but as the years went on, when I became a teenager or whatever, you know, you get out there and you start, I don't know, my mom ended up, you know, a lot of families can't have a parent home, like the mother home anymore. So it's like the kids are really raising themselves. And then I think the culture a little bit gets lost within that versus, you know, 30, 40 years ago, we had more of a nuclear family base, I think, in all of North American society, whereas now it's kind of like two parents are working. And I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but I think that's contributed a lot to the reason.
Yes, you're. There is also two different approaches in terms of United States and Canada. My understanding is over there they have something they call melting pot. You know,
Yeah.
where everybody forgetting their communities, and they're supposed to, or they're becoming Americans and living the life of American community. But in Canada, what was here propagated was multiculturalism. So the government even did support different cultures, different communities through many issues, from what do they call that? They were giving out a passport, and every year each hall or each community was putting on show of their tradition or their cuisine, and so you could just go from the community to community and how get to know people and be exposed to different cultures. Again, I don't know why. Is it Corona or is it something else? But it's very unfortunate that this is not happening now. I think in September, I don't know if it was held this year, there was also, I think actually it was in spring that they had a folklore festival. And then all the groups, all the young people that were in folklore, they always met in different city. And I was actually, when I was 25, I was taping them because then I had a community program in city of Hamilton, you know. So community, they did support each other. And right now, either the Corona or maybe we have an independent state of Croatia, whatever, but I just don't see it being same. So I think that there is that different in terms of us Croatians living in these two countries, United States and Canada. But tell me, I went back to Croatia in 1992 and then you said that you returned over there, lived there for some time. Well, how was it for you there? How did people accept you? And I found many, since I went there, I found many problems even there, that they're not so friendly in Croatia as I thought they were, or how friendly we were when the people were coming here from Croatia. What was your experience there when you returned from United States to Croatia?
Well, luckily for me, I did go back every summer since I was 13. So when I initially moved back, it was really like a spontaneous decision. I was working in Charlotte and I was like, you know what, this is the last straw, I'm leaving. I want to go home. And I bought a one-way ticket to Zagreb and like, that was it. And I was at my mom's apartment and I remember I just turned 18 like a month before. And I don't know, in my head I was thinking like, I have friends in Bjelovar, like I've been to Bjelovar every summer, I know Zagreb, like I've been here, it's not weird, I have some knowledge of the language. And I think for the first like 2 months, because it was right before summer hit, it was just the same as every summer I had been back. But after the months started going by, everyone was just like, so you're not leaving? Like almost like surprised that I had stayed. And I was like, no, like I applied to university. I'm planning on going to university in Zagreb. And then when I moved to Zagreb, I had a lot more people. I even had one colleague of mine at the time say to me, well, you know, if your IQ was like higher than the temperature in this room, you'd know that moving to Croatia is the stupidest thing you could do. And I remember just looking at him and I was like, you know, I think Croatian people have such a big perception that like Croatian diaspora have, I don't know, money grows on trees for us, and like that life is so much better in the West in general. And I think that that's not true. At least for me, it wasn't true. And I felt a lot better being in Croatia. But like the first few months, really, like I was in kind of a depression because it was like when I spoke, I had such anxiety because I have an accent when I speak Croatian and my grammar is not good. And people would notice that and they'd instantly be like, well, you're not Croatian, you don't speak Croatian properly, like you grew up in the US, how Croatian can you be? But it was interesting because growing up in the US as well, you know, my mom would send me to school with like, I don't know, I'd eat palichinka for breakfast or something, or like I would, you know, say, my friend would say, what did your mom make for dinner? And my friend would sleep over and my mom makes sadama, and they're like, what is that? Why are you eating cabbage with meat in it? Like, it was like I wasn't American enough and I could never fit in that space. And then when I moved to Croatia, I felt almost rejected because everyone was like, you know, why would you move back here? And then, oh, well, you're not Croatian enough because of this or that, or like the way you dress is weird, or like their mentality about certain things is strange. Like, I remember I was working in Novalja last year, and it was my first job in Croatia at the time. And I asked my boss, can I have a cigarette break? And she made fun of me in front of the whole, all my colleagues. And she was like, why would you ask me for a cigarette break? Like, just go take one. Because I was so used to like the functioning of like American society, how you work and all of this, that people would almost make fun of me. Like, what a stupid question, right? So I felt kind of rejected, but as the time went on and I learned more Croatian through Croaticum, I took a course with them. One day it just clicked, and I feel like people have responded to me more when I tell people, like, you know, when I moved back here, I want to help Croatia. You know, it's not just me that's moving back. There's I think 1,000 people moved back in 2018 alone of diaspora. So I think now people are more accepting. But when you first go back, I mean, you get, you know, you feel rejected. You feel like maybe this was a bad decision. Maybe I don't belong here. Where do I belong? Because you're mixed with two different cultures. But I know that you moved back at one point. So what was your experience? Was it the same way with work? And I don't know if you worked there, or like, what was your experience with it?
Well, yes, I did move there in 1992. I had a project that I worked on, and actually it worked out. I wanted to create or transmit programming, television programming from Croatia to Canada, United States. In other words, I have established called that a gateway, whereby, and that was the first time in that Croatian programming came to America. And this is my project. For months, actually, I worked there without no pay or anything, trying to establish that project. And at that time, because of the politics, because of the war and president that was in power and the situation, I feel that we were welcomed there. People did go out of their ways, and I was able to, and it cost a lot of money, around $50,000 a month, just to have a naming, which is 1 hour, let's say, per day for 30 days. We had to pay $50,000 for that live transmission, live link. And I was able to raise that money, and I think there was understanding from at that time from the people that they call it the diaspora. I call it people from abroad, or Croatians that just live abroad. They needed our help, and people that lived outside of Croatia did help, and things were working out. I feel that so it was a project that was making. I was able to finance all the what needed to be financed, and I was able to live out of that myself. And even after the war, I ended up in New Jersey and was organized an office there. We were on the Dish Network. You probably heard about that, eh?
Yeah.
And the people were watching the Croatian program through Dish Network, and I did that. So there were some people that I worked with in New Jersey, and then again in Canada. And that was okay till year 2000. And then things changed, and that's because of politics. We were no longer there welcomed. A new president came in, a new party came in. That project was just thrown out and given to somebody else. And that's when, when I talked to many people, from people that were defending Croatia or recalling Branitelji, to many people that went there at that time and started their business and so on and so forth. They were not successful, and they had to leave and go out again. So I feel because of politics, and maybe those were the times that you got there, things have changed in Croatia, and we are not as welcomed now as we were in these first 10 years. So that was my experience. So since I lost that project there, I had to come back to Canada, and but because of my knowledge and so on and so forth, I was able to continue with this project, and I am still doing that right now, but somebody else is in charge now. I just have a franchise here in Eastern Canada. So I am in a situation where my heart I want to be in Croatia. I'm sort of miss it so much, but there's no way that I can make a living, and that I could resolve my life issues there. But I can easily resolve those issues here in Canada. And that's what makes me think, why is that happening, and why isn't Croatia doing much more to open up, and so that people go back there, because there are more Croatians dying per year than they were born, so we are at a society or a nation which will in 50 or 60 years, maybe it's going to be just million and something of Croatians. But then who's going to contribute towards their pension and so on and so forth? So there's just many issues that I think it's a subject that people should think about and talk about it, especially the younger people. And so those are some of my experiences, as you asked.
Well, it really breaks my heart because, like, I've said it to so many people, especially in the U.S., that, like, in Croatia, like, I'd rather be poor in Croatia than have all the money in America, right? Because to me, like, that's my homeland and it's important to me. And unfortunately, I think, as well as with me growing up there, like half growing up there, coming every summer, I know with my friends, and especially in universities in Zagreb and even like the school system, it's almost like pushed on to you as a young person in Croatia, you're not going to make it here, right? You're not going to make it here. You can't do anything here. The life is better in Ireland. The life is better in Germany. Life is better in America. And I think when I was a kid, I almost perpetuated that in a way, because I would be like 15 working in the US, and I'd come with my currency exchange. I exchange my money, and then I'd go out to clubs in Bjelovar at 15 years old, and I'd be like, oh, I'm buying drinks for everyone. And I think diaspora in a way, and people who are just even working in Germany or something like that, they come back to Croatia, it's a common thing that people talk about. They rent a car that's nice, like a BMW, and they come to Croatia and they say, well, look, I made it. I came back from Germany, but the truth is, you're living in a room with 7 people. And the only reason why you got all this money when you return is because of the exchange rate. And I think as I go to RIT for international business, and even through the expat community, I've heard people say who are investing in Croatia, like, there's this term within business, which is ABC, anything but Croatia, right? Because they're putting so many blockages for people like diaspora to make these important companies to build the Croatian economy up, to keep these younger people there. They're just creating blockages. And I remember, like, a year ago, I had a boss who didn't pay me. He refused to pay me, right? Which is a common problem in Croatia, which I didn't. When I was younger, I would hear about it all the time, but I think I didn't realize all these problems of Croatia. I think I had like a glorified image of Croatia until I moved there. And then I witnessed, I had a boss hand me a piece of paper, and I have maybe I'll post it or something on Facebook, but he tried to make me sign a paper saying that I had stolen money from his business, which completely was false. And he said, well, if you sign this, I'll give you your student contract and pay you, but if you don't sign it, then I won't pay you anything, right? And I think he thought that I didn't speak Croatian or I couldn't read it or something. I mean, they try to, like, I think, take advantage of diaspora in a way. But after that experience and, like, a few other experiences in Croatia, I started thinking to myself, like, what am I doing wrong, right? Like, I moved back. I thought people would receive me well. Like, I've heard of people being received well, like, those 10 years after we got independence. And everything's going wrong. And I remember talking to another Croatian diaspora, another person who grew up in the US, that had moved back to Croatia, and I asked him, like, what, you seem so successful, like, how did you make it? Because I'm having a really difficult time, right? Like, adjusting, like I feel like there's just roadblock after roadblock for me living here, and I'm really trying to make it work here. And I remember he looked at me and he was like, well, join HRVATSKU, and everything, like, all the doors are going to open up to you. And I don't want to make this, like, I know some people love HRVATSKU. Like, I'm not saying anything horrible against HRVATSKU, but I went to a meeting with them. I went to a meeting with SDP because I didn't know very much about either one. and I just feel like what a stupid and arrogant thing to say, right? Like, I think that this has been throughout Croatian history. People are joining whatever political parties in power. I mean, that was a year ago, right? Now we have an SDP president, but that was when Kolinda was in power when he said that to me. I just remember thinking, why are we just going along with whatever is there at the moment, right? Because even throughout, communism, before any time, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, people are just going with what's there right now. And unfortunately, I think Croatia's turning into a two-party system, which is small, like, has been fragmented in the last election because now you have like these other parties that are getting more and more percentage of the vote, right? But I think like there's this mentality, and there's a mentality, and there's also like a restriction where you can't do as much as you want to do unless you kind of conform to whatever society in Croatia is telling you to do, right? Or whoever has the most connections, or whoever can get you in a certain position. And I think that's really unfortunate. And I think as a young person in Croatia, me talking to people in Croatia, I think the biggest problem with that is it's not a. I don't want to say like I don't want to blame Hadazar Estepe for any of this, but like I think another big issue is these younger generations of Croatians. They don't want to fix it. They just, well, Hadazar is bad and Estepe is bad, and I'm not interested in politics. I'm going to Germany. Like that's what I've heard from everyone, and I think that's a big issue because whether you like Hadazar, you hate them, or you like Estepe and you hate them, I think that the younger generation needs to invest in Croatia, in changing it, create a new party. I don't know, vote for someone else, go and vote. Because a lot of Croatians aren't voting, right? If you look statistically, they're not voting. They'll sign up for those people like Pernar or Kolinda or whatever. They'll sign up so that they have a ballot, but they won't actually go and vote. And I think another problem with that too is we don't have a national voting holiday. You can't vote in your Županja either. Like I was working in Zagreb this election, but I'm registered in Bjelovar, so I couldn't even vote if I wanted to, right? So I think all of these are contributing to businesses, perhaps like yours, which is the same problem we had 20 years ago when Croatia was first founded, and then after, different president changes, whatever, we're having the same issues as before, and we're just repeating the cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As far as voting is concerned, the situation was different up to year 2000. The system was changed, or what they call it, I think over there, the bill of voting rights, or izborni zakon, actually. That has been changed because of president, and he was a premier at that time, insisted that Croatians abroad not have more than three members in the parliament.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they gave there's about 8 of and on the special ways that they vote for the ethnic minorities. So even if you're talking in terms of millions of people living abroad, helping Croatia, for some reason after year 2000, they made a move that would limit participation of Croatians living abroad. I don't know, will that ever change or not? In this last elections, we had one general Vlasnovic, I think. He was MP, member of parliament, and he was sort of speaking out for Croatians living abroad. But then, because of I think number of votes, small number of votes, he was voted out. So we don't even have anybody to represent us. I feel only way that we could speak out is through this podcast, let's say, or through social media. But I don't see that there's understanding, or maybe people are not using that. I am really happy that you are participating in this program, that we are able to talk like this. So what would you be able to say, contribute in those terms? Do we have any ideas? Do you have any ideas of what to do to get Croatians living abroad more involved so they help themselves? We cannot count on the people in Croatia to accept us or to help us because they don't want to do it. They have their own interests, so it's just a question of interest. So how do we present our interest? How do we unite and then implement or impose since there's I mean people abroad probably have much more money than they have in Croatia, so that they can, if they want to work together, they can do many things. But how do you organize something like that? Did you ever think in those terms, and what do you think as far as that is concerned?
Well, fortunately, I don't know if you've heard of the nonprofit organization. It was just recently started. It's called Croatian Diaspora, and they actually were part of the people who got Croatian Diaspora to be able to vote. They pushed that through Canadian Parliament, so now us living in Canada, we can vote in the elections, and I think that's a big thing that we all need to consider as diasporas, that our vote is heard, and that we push for more policies, or I don't know what the correct word for that would be. We push for more things like that. Like I know the president of Croatian Diaspora, Mate, he grew up in Canada, and he's done a lot of great things for the Croatian diaspora with his nonprofit, and I think we need to support more nonprofits that are working for our interests, because at the end of the day, like the people who are growing up in Croatia, they largely have this mentality that we just have it easier, and that, well, they're not living here, they don't know the problems, which in some ways is true, right? Like I didn't know as many problems that Croatia had until I moved there. So I think that's a big part of it. And then also, I think the Croatian diaspora that's already moved back needs to kind of step up to the plate a little bit, in a way. I mean, obviously, this podcast will help, right? And I'm grateful that you invited me onto the podcast, because I would love to, spread this message to people, because I feel like a lot of people feel the same way I do, but we don't hear about it, right? And I think with the correct marketing, that a podcast like this one, or one similar like this, could expand even into Croatia, because I know that there are a lot of Croatians there that are curious about moving to other places, and what the Croatian diaspora community is like, and what we do think about these issues. So
yes, idea was when it started last year. Actually, they have a number of podcasts in Croatia, and I did approach Marko Juric, project Velebit, but it didn't work out. But the idea was that in each city where there's a Croatian community, and at that time I thought it would be possible. Let's say here in Toronto, South Ontario, let's say, then Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, Alberta, United States. I don't want to name all those cities, but there's a huge Croatian community there. And then we go down to South America, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and then Europe. So idea was that each community that has a church, that has a sport club, that has some kind of organization, could have their own podcast for their communities. where the community would communicate, student organizations, and so on and so forth, talk about issues, talk about articulate or let the voices be heard. And then my idea was to go a step further and take best out of all these things, and we can apply to, again, to Dish Network or to Roku or these IPTV, and have our, take the best and have run that 24 hours on bigger platforms all over, on the satellite all over the world, where the people living abroad could have their own channels. So we are not only watching what's happening there, and then probably here and there somebody has something to say, they do something, but that's far away from you having your own channel and so many participants getting to know each other. But again, you're looking in terms of people that are schooled, that have some knowledge in doing that and participating. Actually, that was an idea, but I'm sorry to say that it's not working with the communities. Either I don't know how to present it properly. Put it on the different social media. I don't know even if the people here want to have something like that. It was interesting that when the churches, there was now mass in the church because of Corona. All of a sudden, those churches had their cameras and they were taping the masses, and they were able to do so. But I can understand why are they not extending that, and other issues are that people are participating or they should participate. Many, from cultural to politics to well, name it. It can be done, and people can get to know each other, and so somehow we can prepare for possible return to Croatia, and Croatia could participate also. But for some reason, I'm not getting through, and I don't know right now if that will be accepted, and if somebody will do something about it.
Well, it's really confusing to me in a way that that your podcast, because I did watch other videos, that they have so little views and comments, because living in Croatia and living in the U.S. and going to New York and knowing other people who are Croatian diaspora that moved back, it seems as if like the Croatian diaspora, or the people who live outside of Croatia, are so proud to be Croatian. You'd think that they would jump on an opportunity like this, and they'd want to take it and run with it and really do something with it. But it seems like they're not biting at that opportunity, and I really can't figure out why. I can understand why not in Croatia.
If you are, let's say, the sports, and I'm proud too. I'm very happy when the Croatian team comes in first, or so when the sports are involved, you can see the people are there. But that's only for sports. I don't know what else could interest young people.
I really don't know. And this is kind of something that I've struggled with also being at university, is a lot of the Croatian people that I've met, like they're all a lot of people at RIT, where I go to school, they're all centered around leaving Croatia, and I think that's really like a mentality thing that's being spread about. And then also on the diaspora side, you're being told like, oh, well, no one can make it in Croatia. Look how Croatia is now. Like, people are. I know a lot of people want to move back. They want to go, but they're scared. And all I can really say to those people is, I moved at 18. Like, I paid for my university, and I did pretty well for 2 years, right? And of course, like, I worked, and it was real blood, sweat, and tears to get through it. Of course, like, I was fortunate enough to have my extended family. I'm not really close with my parents for personal reasons, but if I can do it with little to no parental support, then I think anyone with some direct connection there, you have parents there or whatever, you can really move back. Like, it's if you want to, or even retire. Like, I mean, I know that and people are investing in Croatia all the time, right? We've had General Motors looking into investing into Croatia. We have Apple licensing out Apple approved stores in Zagreb. We have all these business opportunities that are coming to Zagreb. I even have friends that they own businesses in Croatia, right? It's doable, it's possible, but I think also people think it's going to be easy in Croatia, right? Like, we talk about paperwork in Croatia. I mean, getting one thing done, you miss one paper and you've got to go to 6 different buildings, like, you've got to pay for the tax, for the stamps and everything. Like, all of that goes into it. And I think a lot of the young people in Croatia in particular, which I've noticed as well in at my school, and people who are just in general in Economia, Faculta or whatever, trying to start their own businesses, they think that, like, it just happens like that, right? And it really doesn't. When you go to university for business, or you start your own business abroad, whatever, it takes a lot of work. It can't just happen instantaneously. And I think a lot of the people that are younger in Croatia, they have this almost like a mentality like, well, you know what, if I go to Canada, if I go to America, I can have a business like this, it'll be successful, it's just going to take off. And it really doesn't work like that, right? And I think that's another thing that's pushing people to leave. And I don't know why they're not. I mean, I think it's like a mentality thing that we really need to break. I mean, I have like cousins that work in Germany, and they come back and they act like everything's fine, but obviously they're my cousin. I know they live, a horrible life in Germany. But if you come back from Germany, right, everyone in Croatia looks at you like you failed, because that's almost like heaven for us, right? Like, you immigrate to Germany and you have a new life. So I think people are scared to move back. They're scared to say that, it's not working out in the US, it's not working out in Canada or whatever, and they're scared to go back. Or, I think life's better here. My quality of life is better. I had a lot of people like asking me, what's better about your quality of life in Croatia? Well, first of all, I can have coffee at any time of the day, right? Like, your break is, you have 6 breaks for coffee every day. Like, you can, you have your weekends off. When you work in America, I don't know about Canada yet. I'm still job searching here, but, my boss can call me at any time. There's no end to the work relationship. So I don't know why Croatian young people are not more interested in fixing the country. It's almost like I see a lot of Croatian people more interested in US politics than their own. And it really just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know what the solution is.
Things are really confusing in terms of business. Like, I have 2 companies here, which is this your whole network actually is called, where people are prepaying for their television programming. And I have also proprietorship, which is CCBC, and I use that to for service, for doing from computer to satellite, and to provide service to individuals that I can help, I guess, put it this way. But you see, in Canada, this special proprietorship, CCBC, you fill out your application, search your name, maybe give them $120 or something on the credit card, and you have a piece of paper. You have a company that you can go to the bank and open up account, and you're in business. over there.
Yeah.
I also had a company in Croatia, but it's a nightmare. Okay, and that company in Croatia, I had to pay the government for everything, from pension to God knows how many, whatever they have taking away from your pay. So actually, you have to create maybe $500 per month, pay the government, and you don't get pen, you get zero. And then if you don't not able to do that, it adds up, and then they're after you, and they have some kind of laws that govern that, and before you know, they can take away if you have a home or anything, you know. So what am I trying to say? That different in Canada is that if I have a proprietor and I work, I pay the government from my profit, taxes and HST and everything else. But over there, you have to prepay the government, and then you have to make money so you survive and carry on the business. So if they just open that area up for the young people coming to Croatia, if they just make it like it's Canada, like it's in Ireland or some other countries, they will do a lot helping people to return to Croatia and starting their business and bringing their talent. But they get them into Croatia, and then if they start working, if they open up a company, probability is that they will not be successful, and they will accumulate debt, and then they will be in no position to exist, to survive, and they have to go back out, like go to the Germany, and they have to go out to work out again. So I think it's a question of a system that exists in Croatia, which is not encouraging their society to live and prosper. They are, I don't know, are they doing that purposely, but or they don't have understanding, and why are not resolving the issues like Canada is doing? I don't know how is it in the United States, but I know in Ireland and in Canada that it's very, very easy if you have some knowledge, if you want to do something, if you want to cut the grass, or you want to do this, or you want to do that, you know, you can start your company, and then you can grow from there. But over there, it's something different completely.
Yeah, I think there's some real fundamental policy changes that need to occur in Croatia for, you know, people to want to invest and destroy those blockages, right? Like, I know, for example, one of my friends owns a business. I asked him a few questions just to confirm my knowledge before this. But I know that if you're paying someone, you want to pay someone a 6,000 kuna salary, as a business owner, you're almost paying around almost, you know, 5,000 in taxes for their every paycheck, right? So you're almost paying double just for someone to have a minimum salary in Croatia, and that's leading to people like, for example, I worked Sezona, and I remember I quit one of my jobs because I wanted to work in a different area. I had like a fiance then, and we moved to a different city in Primošten. Actually, we were in Primošten. And I was passing out CVs, and I was like, you know, I have my Croatian papers, I speak English fluently, like I'm looking to be a waiter anywhere, right? And I remember so many people turned me away because they were like, well, I can hire someone from Kosovo or Serbia, and I pay them 3,000 kunas or 3,500 kunas, and for you, I need to pay you 6,000, or I'll have to pay you 3,000, around 3,000 on paper, and then I have to pay you the rest on the black, right? And that really hurts both the employer and the employee because, you know, I think a lot of employers want to pay their workers more money, but they're being restricted. And then there's also the issue of people, you know, just for a job, they're having to take something on paper that's less and then having to hope, right, and wish that their employer pays them the rest on the black and cash. And so it's really bad for both parties. And I don't understand why, like, the young people are not interested in these topics in Croatia. And it's like if they push for these things, you know, we just had a protest against Bandic with, like, I think, I don't know, over 10,000 people showed up to that protest a few months ago in Zagreb. If we had around the same amount of people coming to protest against policies like this that are hurting Croatia, that are contributing to people not getting paid, or for example, you know, your employer cannot pay you, you're in court with them for 5 years and then it gets thrown out, you never get that money back, right? And those are things that really need to be changed. I know that even because of COVID, unless your business is down 60% from last year, the government's not going to help you pay your employees, right? That's what's happening right now in Croatia. So if your business is not down 60%, I think it's roughly around like 60%, they're not going to give you that extra 4,000 to keep your business going. So they're not really giving an incentive, right, for diaspora to come back, or even for business owners to even stay in Croatia at this point. Because, but then again, I think roughly the tax is a lot less in Croatia than Germany, if you put everything in perspective. I was talking to one of my friends who lives in Germany now, who has their own business as well. So it's like there are some benefits in being in Croatia, but nothing's going to change unless the government lessens these restrictions. And I think it's even more of an incentive for them, which, like you said, I don't know if it's on purpose or what it is, but if you had Croatian people outside of Croatia who have the citizenship that can prove that they lived abroad, and you said, look, if you start a business in Croatia, you don't have to pay tax the first year, you would have so many businesses popping up all around Croatia. And there are other countries that are doing things like that. And now I know, for example, they're importing people from India and I think Pakistan and places like Vinkovci, Bjelovar, all over Croatia for construction work. Oh, and Novalja also, there's a lot of Indians who've been imported to work there. So I think it's also an issue of like, a lot of Croatians won't work construction in Croatia, but they'll go to Germany and work construction there. But, you know, what money are you really losing?
Those are the issues. I don't know how they're going to be resolved. But anyway, Eva, if I may call you Eva, this Zoom is working up to 60 minutes and we are now at 57. I really enjoy doing this and made me think about a lot of things. I hope we can do it sometimes again. I encourage you to connect with your friends. You can host a program and talk to your friends about these issues, and then let's you know, make it a hobby. Or I hope to hear that people also can get in touch. I understand that you are now looking for a job to meet people and so on and so forth. So. Let's appeal to Croatian community, and then maybe something comes up from there, and that would be the start. So I thank you for participating, and I hope we do it again sometimes.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you having on. I hope we talk more about this because I'd really love to. I have a lot of friends that would love to come and talk about their experience living abroad or even starting a business in Croatia that have one now, that are more knowledgeable than I am about that process. I really appreciate you having me on again.
We'll communicate through email, and maybe we can get some our heads together, and then maybe you are a golden angel here that will break this community and get something going, you know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye.